Hi, I'm Xavier. Today I'll be sharing on the opportunities to take advantage of in today's property market. Well, it seems like just yesterday that COVID's just begun, but it's almost 2 years now. The funny thing is back then people were looking at buying at bargain prices, whether there are fire sales, buyers were looking at waiting out for the market to drop even further before going in. But fast forward to now, people are feeling that the market is overheated and whether there's new cooling measures coming in place. So it's really interesting to know that market really changes quite rapidly. And at any point of time, I think it's more important to really sit down and look at to see what are the opportunities available. So today I will be going through with you the opportunities that I feel it's available for to look at. All right. So first up, a quick look at the HDB price index. Can see here evidently that the prices in the last year, because each point stands for 1 quarter, is up substantially. I did a very elaborate and also a good brief video on the HDB market and how to take advantage of it. I'll put the link below, so if you're free, do have a look at it. All right, so this shows really that the market is going up. And also for the private market side, you can see that the index are also breaching the high over here already. So it's quite healthy in that sense, and everything seems to be pointing upwards. At the same time, it is confirmed, and I think these two are linked: the price index and the private price index, and also the private uncompleted unsold units. So these are all the new launches out there on the market that you see at any point of time which you can buy. The amount of inventory, the amount of stock on the market, you find that is very, very limited. So if you have been a buyer who has been looking, you know that your choices are very, very limited nowadays. This is being confirmed because right now, actually up to August, you're only around 16,000 units. It feels like a lot, but if you spread it out across the different sector, your core central, your rest of core, your outside core, your different segments, whether it's a 1 bedroom, 4 bedroom, 5 bedroom, whether even your strata landed and at different locations, you find that they are very, very limited unit for a specific type that they are looking at. It can't possibly lead to zero, because if it leads to zero, prices will be crazy all year. All right. So this can be translated or looked at or rather compared with the 2017 and 2018 period, which is highlighted over here, where the drop in supply of units on the market actually leads to increase in prices in the general market for the private property. You can see it's over here, the increase in the 17 to 18 period. And it also leads to more en bloc, and this is also happening right now because developer has lesser land bank, so they have to go out and acquire more land so that they can build in the future. So it all coincides. I think this is all painting the same picture. So what is really happening and what does it entails? Okay, I think without doubt, people would think that this is a seller's market, and I totally agree with it. I think we are more or less into a seller's market. But that said, there are still segments of the market whereby you can still get good buys. You just have to be a little bit more selective in that aspect. So why is it a seller market? I'll just briefly run through. Some of this has been touched, but I just give a good summary over here. First up, you can look at it's obviously a very structural change in our working habits. We need not go to the office anymore. In fact, I think the companies are very used to remote working. They are in fact reducing the amount of office space that they need. They're reducing costs. Some even reducing the amount of travel that used to be done, right? So they're actually saving costs in that sense. And I think it's something structural, meaning to say that it will be here to stay rather than cyclical, even though if things goes back to normal. And it's not only that, it's also our working habits that actually affect our living. That's the reason why residential market has been going up. People needing bigger homes. And even some of my friends, when you are cooked up at home and with your family member or even your extended family member, it may not be that healthy in that sense. So some of them I know actually finding their own space, whether you're talking about renting or even getting a small unit on their own. So this is actually causing the upsurge in prices. Higher disposable income, I think generally we have nothing much to spend on. That's the reason why once the vaccinated travel lane was announced, everything was fully booked. I think those who are doing well through this pandemic, I think different sectors are affected. Different sectors are doing well. Those sectors that are doing well, I think those people are actually saving more money. That leads to higher disposable income, which actually they use it for investment, and in this sense will be buying property. Construction delays. Bear in mind that construction delays is actually causing like a backlog of everything, but the supply is there. It's not as if HDB stopped building houses. There's still 15 to 17,000 homes that or BTOs that are being released for sale. But this delay actually caused people to look at the resale HDBs, or whether it's a resale condo. It deviated demand. That's why the prices are going up. So construction delay do affect. And then when you look at the pandemic, which causes QE, right? So QE is quantitative easing. It causes a drop in interest rates. So in terms of borrowing, it's cheaper to borrow, and people are okay because it's cheaper in that sense to take a loan. Foreign purchase in pandemic, I would say in general, Singapore has been doing well, although lately I think people would say otherwise. But I think if you compare with our neighboring countries, we seems to be doing a little bit better. So this in fact causing some of the more wealthy individuals from the other countries to come here to purchase property as a safe haven, so to say. So this in fact actually push up prices and push up demand. Lately, this is something that is also causing the prices to go up, inflation, because of the supply chain that is being affected throughout the globe. You're seeing that material costs are going up. Even manpower, I think, look at construction workers, some of them can't come here. Companies cannot really get people over here to work. So the current worker actually demanding a higher pay. So all these things are actually affecting material costs and or rather the raw material costs in general, and causing inflation. And what better way to hedge that than to buy a property, because that is something physical. It's very similar if you look at the asset class. It's very similar to gold, because this is something that you hold, you're staying in, or you can see it. But the difference between gold and property is that property you can rent it out for rental. And there's some amount of leverage because of the bank loan. And right now, I mentioned about the low interest rate that people are taking advantage of. So all these elements in general leads to higher prices, higher demand, higher prices, and into a seller's market that we are in now. So last slide, most important slide, what are the opportunities available in a seller's market? Okay, for those of you who have multiple properties, like even those that have 3, 4, 5, those who are using kids to buy extras, I think it's if you want to sell a property at a good price, this is something to take advantage. This is the current situation to take advantage of. Okay, if you are looking to liquidate something. Then the second point will be difficult property to sell. I think this is very relevant through my day-to-day work. Some properties that take up to a year to sell, like 3 years ago, nowadays it takes like 1 to 2 months to sell. For example, those that are fully west sun facing, second floor, or even HDB that has like 60 or 50 years lease left. These are properties are strangely quite in demand nowadays. I saw a unit at Chai Ji, and it took I think it took less than a week to get it done, and it was done at a record price. This was not possible to achieve before COVID. Just for information, it took more than a year to sell some of these properties that I talk about. So if something that's difficult, I think it's a good opportunity to sell if you want. Okay. Divesting for other investment and business, I think is applicable because of how easy in that sense you can put up property to sell if you market at the market price. If you need cash in that sense for other investments or for your business expansion, if you need cash immediate, property I mentioned in my other videos as an asset class is something that is very illiquid. But what happens in the seller's market is that it makes it it makes it more liquid in that sense. So it's easier for you to divest and use the cash for other means. All right. HDB, I mentioned about a video that I did. I think this is an anomaly. If you look at the chart, you're looking at a spike in prices. This is not what the HDB wants at the end of the day. I think they want something that's very stable, affordable, roof over our head. I think a lot of people are already complaining that the prices are very high. And very important over here is that the supply of HDB or the supply of BTOs did not stop. Okay, this is something to note as compared to the run up back in the 2000s, 2000s to 2010 period. That period of time is the supply didn't keep up with the demand. But right now, it's because of the construction delay that caused people to deviate their interest to something that's more immediate. But the supply of BTO, again, it is constant. It is there every year. You're looking at 15 to 17,000. So when everything comes back to normal, I would expect actually a glut, a bottleneck. You see a lot of BTOs, a lot of units being ready or sort of TOP in that sense. And people will be moving in it. Some people will need to sell their existing resale HDBs. It will actually cause a glut in the HDB market. So if HDB is something that you want to sell, you want to look at to divest, I think this is a very good period. I did the video as I mentioned earlier, so you can look at the video. I'll put it on my link. All right. Okay, downsizing it's also quite good in that sense. Although you see the HDB market and the private property market is going up. Obviously, when you downsize, you're moving to something that is cheaper, right? Let's say if it's from a private property to HDB, let's say a private property is something that's maybe 1.2 to 1.5 million. The HDB probably around 5 to 700,000. It is divided by 2. Although both markets are going up, you're buying something that's cheaper. So in the seller's market, you actually stand to benefit more because you're cashing out. You're cashing out at a bigger sum and buying something that's cheaper. Okay, so downsizing is something good. Prep for purchase opportunity. I think this is something very interesting. A lot of people right now, I have couples of a few clients that are looking at buying opportunity. But the important thing over here is that you have to be ready. Although the stock, maybe some properties on the market right now, you may not find suitable, but you don't want to wait for the opportunity to come out first. Then you think of how you want to act on it, because property in general is illiquid. So the whole idea is really getting ready. So for example, if you're already naturally decoupled, husband and wife got one property each, right? If you got one property each. So this, if you have been thinking of buying another property or maybe one of the properties stagnant, you probably want to look at selling one of them first. Because if a purchase opportunity is to come out the very next day, I don't think you're in a position to act on it. So the idea is always about prepping, it's always about getting ready, and you can look at taking advantage of the seller's market to sell maybe your second property. All right, so you have the name that you can use when the opportunity arises. So at the end of the day, I think it's also it's very important because this particular seller's market it's not a scenario that happened only today. I mean, the market goes up and down, obviously up and down, but always trending up in that sense. But we have heard of horror stories. I've seen horror stories of my own. Also, I've been in this line for 8 years. You cannot speculate on property, especially if you're holding on to just one, whether it's a HDB or condo. What do I mean by that? Some people actually think that it is a seller market. They go and sell the HDB because they think HDB prices are very high, in hopes that the HDB prices will come down. Well, it's not entirely wrong. We shall talk about where the direction of HDB is leading. But the whole idea behind it sounds very, very speculative and dangerous because we don't know how long this construction delay will take place, right? We don't know whether there will be a Delta, there will be an Echo variant, there will be a Foxtrot variant, things like that. We don't know how long it will take. If the market keeps going up, you will be caught in this no man's land, or in other words, it's a naked position. Something like shorting the market. It's something very dangerous because property as an asset class shouldn't be deemed in such a way. All right. So avoid a naked position. If you're selling, if you have only one property, if you are looking at selling, also make sure that you know roughly what you are going to buy. Okay, avoid being in a speculative play, because if let's say you sell it and rent it out, the rent is always an expense, and if the market keeps going up, you will be caught out of the market. Some people end up from a 5-room HDB to a 4-room HDB because it becomes more and more unaffordable. All right, so this comes to the end of my sharing, right? Thanks for watching. If this is something that you like, you have enjoyed, please subscribe, please like, and do share with others around. Thank you, and I'll see you again.